If you feel like you are losing your grip, might suffer a trip or abandon ship, open a can of whatever you sip and join the fellowship.
Hello there. Welcome to Can You Hear Me Now? I think this is going to be the last one of these podcasts that we're going to do in this format. There'll still be elements of how we've been doing this podcast over the last few months, in the sense of a Google Meet. If you're new to this, if you look in the video description down below, there's a link to a Google Meet. Anyone's welcome to join. But I think something that is missing from the main channel is me fiddling around with tech. And I think we've got all of this stuff that we're surrounded by, and whilst it's lovely to natter and stuff, I think there might be something to be said for employing some of the stuff that's been missing from the channel, tech reviews, some Modular Monday stuff. But also, instead of, who was it that said, Frank Zappa, wasn't it, who said talking about music's like dancing about architecture. I think that what would be really nice is when we're talking about stuff like compressors or specific plugins, that instead of it being kind of abstract, just like talking about it, it's something that we can in fact do and bench test and try out. I'm also really interested in the format of it being live, but also there being some interaction between what I'm doing and what members of the fellowship are doing, and anyone can be a member any week by joining the Google Meet. The idea of possibly wanging you a waveform and it coming back and then back and then back and then making a sample instrument, and probably being way too ambitious with what we think that we can do here live. But I imagine it'll set us up for a lot of catastrophic failures, which always makes for good telly. So thank you so much for a great podcast last week. Simon, our community head and moderator of this podcast, has basically been spending the last week getting all of your prizes and merch out to you. So much so that our own merch store had to do a security check on him because he was acting suspiciously. How are you, Alan?
Good, Christian. How are you?
Yeah. I'm not too bad. Yeah, it's been there's some really interesting stuff that's coming up. I've been really getting my fingernails dirty with sampling again, but it's basically this origins concept has been fascinating for me. This idea of starting again, learning stuff that I should have learned back in the day, but also just making stuff work that's never really worked for me. And I'm really excited. Today I presented you with a bit of a sneak preview of a concept that I have about bringing glasses to life and stuff. And it seemed to work.
It sounds really cool. Without teasing, although that's what we do really well here, it does sound amazing. Yeah, no, it's really exciting. And I've also been sampling a tree of gongs, and Alan, I have to get that fully sampled by tomorrow because it's in my living room at the moment. My kids are going, can we get the fucking gong tree out of here and get the Christmas tree in? I don't know if you have any questions for me, but I have a question for the fellowship as and when you join, which is, what is your favourite movie to watch at Christmas? Now, it doesn't have to be a Christmas movie. We have seen a recent Mori poll of the UK, and the general sense is that, I know this is probably going to be controversial, but basically British people do not think Die Hard is a Christmas movie, which is controversial. You see, I would describe Back to the Future as the kind of movie that I watch at Christmas time. It's a little bit like Wizard of Oz is often shown at Christmas, and my mum often appears in Summer Holiday over the Christmas period. I don't know. I think that the BBC just have to dig out stuff that's cheap to run. But
But it's interesting seeing my mum dancing her heart out when I think she was about 19, which is a lot of fun. So, what Christmas movies, what movies do you like to watch over Christmas? Movies that you like to come back to? My wife has a penchant, and I don't know if it's traditional, but she likes to watch a horror movie on Christmas Eve. And I think this Christmas we will be watching The Innocents. I would say my preferred Christmas movie is Gremlins, which has a snowy, Christmassy feel, and Phoebe Cates. And Michael J. Fox. It's not got Michael J. Fox in. Yes, it does. Does it? No, it's not. It's Curly Bloke. No. I'm mixing it up because a little bit of movie trivia. Back to the Future, the set they use for the town is exactly the same set they used in Gremlins. So if you watch them back to back, you'll see that the shop fronts and stuff like the way that the livery is changed, but the layout of the town is identical. Robert Zemeckis there. Does any of you know about the thing that happened with the actor who played George McFly's dad and what happened in Back to the Future 2? It raises a kind of a portentous spectre of what is to come with AI and stuff. But I don't particularly want to talk about AI today. Let's talk about Christmas. Let's get into the Christmas spirit. So what is your favourite movie to watch over Christmas is my question to you. Any questions that have come in, Alan?
Well, as we're starting to get towards the end of the year and all these streaming services are doing their kind of wrap up, I think the questions, we'll put them over the next couple of weeks, but the first one is, what has been your best gig that you've went to see of 2025?
You see, I'm guilty to admit that I've only been to two. And one of them was Radiohead and one of them was Hans Zimmer. I loved Radiohead. I've never seen them live. And what I really appreciated is that the sound was excellent, but also not too loud. And I think that what was wonderful about that is you really got to hear the intricacy and the interplay of the different guitar parts. But the Hans Zimmer gig was phenomenal. He's got a different lineup for this particular world tour. And I've just never heard so much of all of the airs just move so incredibly. It just was so loud, but not in a horrible. It's like, just every part of your body was being, was really shuddering. I've seen Hans live a couple of times before, and whilst I thought it was good and it was very much like a compilation and very celebratory, I feel on this tour, particularly with this MD, that he has handsed live music, the live music experience, and it's something to behold. He kind of, oh right, you own this now as well. It really is an absolute spectacle. But the highlight, I guess, for me, maybe performance of the year, is watching Lisa Gerrard doing the Gladiator Suite. And I just had to, I know I may be repeating myself from something I said last week, but there was a moment where I really started shedding some tears, and it was just the sense of human connection and how I don't know why people would want AI to replace that. And for me, what I'm convinced about, particularly with the fact that this big old barn, the Hydro in Glasgow, was packed to the rafters, and the tickets aren't cheap. You get your money's worth with Hans, though. I can see that people really are striving after that human connection, and I think AI music it's evidently a thing, and it's evident that peers of mine are using it. I think it'll simply become a choice for end users, which I think is going to make for interesting times ahead. So those are my two gigs of the year, really.
Those are not. That's quite good, 2 gigs. If you've only been to 2 gigs this year, that's not too bad.
Absolutely.
Can I give you mine?
Yes, please.
Stevie Wonder.
Oh,
like Hyde Park.
It was
Stevie
hot.
Wonder. Yeah, it was hotter than July, as the song goes. It was, I think, seeing I've seen Hans live before. I saw him at the Hyde on his last tour, and I do agree with you. I've never been to a gig that was so loud, but comfortably loud. But Stevie, I think seeing an absolute legend of the music industry. And I didn't, you think he's a lot older than he actually is because he's been around for so long.
He was a baby when he was signed. Yeah. I mean, what was Talking Book? He was 21 when he released that. So Superstition, he was 20. Must have been 20 when he wrote it.
And that's to me, that is just sickening. You listen to that and think, oh my God. But at 7, I think he's 75 now. He sounded so good, and what a band! Yeah, and they played for about 2.5 hours straight. Yeah. Stevie took a break. Like, he had a bit of a break, but the backing singers just took over. But just and there must, you're talking over 100,000 people in Hyde Park. Yeah. And I think I've saw 2 gigs in Hyde Park before. Stevie Wonder, and then a couple of years ago I saw Paul Simon, who was supported by James Taylor, who was supported by Bonnie Raitt. Wow. So again, what you think Hyde Park is a bit of a kind of soft spot for me. But yeah, Stevie Wonder, that's my gig of 2025.
Top man. And what was his kind of the gig ender or encore? What did he?
Oh God. I mean, it's hard to think if it was like I don't think it was Sir Duke, although he did play. Might have been Superstition. It was one of the big. It was one of his really big hits, and it was one of those ones that you kind of knew the gig was coming to an end, but you wish it could have just went on all night. And what was lovely was, I don't know if you've ever been to a gig in like Hyde Park. It's just got such a party atmosphere, and everybody's just really having such a. People are bringing picnics, and because you have to arrive early. Yeah. And you're there all day, and people are having a really, really great time, and it was just such a great party atmosphere, and just the band were just astonishing. Phenomenal gig.
Are you aware of, here's a bit of music trivia, Alan, are you aware of Stevie Wonder taking a hiatus from music between what people refer to as his golden era in the 70s, and then the output that came out with stuff like I Just Called to Say I Loved You. When he started putting on quite colourful jumpers in the 1980s, there was a gap. And do you know why that was?
Go on, tell me.
He said he wasn't going to release any music until they made Martin Luther King a national holiday, his birthday. And that's his first release when he came back was Happy Birthday to You, and it was to celebrate his campaign, or his part in the campaign being successful for making MLK Day in America a national holiday.
He is, not just is he a great musician and songwriter, but he is quite a national or a world treasure.
Absolutely.
Because it's funny, we were talking about Stevie Wonder today, about the We Are the World. Yeah. And him trying to teach Bob Dylan Bob's lines. And for anybody that's not seen that documentary, it's quite something to watch. Yeah. But yeah, I think that was one of these ones that I'm so glad that I've managed to tick that off the list of I've seen Stevie Wonder live.
Yeah, that's something I'm yet to tick off the list. Something definitely to look into. Let's welcome the fellowship in. Yes, okay. Oh, yes. So last week we were very, very pleased to announce the composing challenge. It was a really, really tricky one, this one, because it was highly briefed. It was long. And there was a kind of a selection of different skills that needed to be employed. It was basically the 4-minute intro to a very boring, nerdy video I've made about MIDI cables. And there were some gear changes in the picture, but also we requested people did a bit of sound design and also dub the dialogue in with the music and the sound design. And on this particular challenge, and one of the reasons we picked it, is the quality of the microphones between the different locations varied greatly, not just in amplitude, but in sound quality. Everyone did an absolutely fantastic job. We had Adam on last week who admitted that he'd maybe overused a de-esser and made me sound like I had a terrible speech impediment. But it was actually really difficult to pick out the right one. And it's so easy as a composer to be swayed and to kind of focus in on the music, to be swayed by interesting arrangements and production, where really what we were looking for, something of just absolutely nailing the job in hand, which was to support the story of a MIDI cable, to make it, propel it, to make it feel interesting. And we felt that this one really ticked all of the boxes. And I think the one thing that you'll enjoy when you watch it is the attention to detail regarding the tempo or the cadence of the picture edit and the music. So I believe, Alan, you have that on thing. Simon, can you remind me of the name of the winner? I don't have it in front of me. Apologies to the winner for that.
Giselle Alberti.
So this is Giselle Alberti's underscore dub and sound design for my MIDI cable video, which was one of our Crowhill challenges. This is a MIDI cable, otherwise known as a 5-pin DIN. Well, that's the connector at the end. But specifically, this is a MIDI cable because inside is a dirty little secret that tells the story of how MIDI came to be. The secret is a quirk of history, tells part of a tale where the spark of inspiration, creation and innovation meets that of simple business frugality. And for me, this secret gives a sense that there was a bit of hedge betting going on there, that the success of this enterprise was far from certain. The fact that a bunch of ruthless rivals had got together, not just to agree upon something, but invent something together and then offer it to the world for other competitors to use in competition with them, that wasn't amazing enough. There was certainly a sense of, well, we shouldn't waste any money on it. And is there a little bit of a business opportunity here? For many, this is like a relic of a forgotten technology. Surely we've moved on to using USB now. Not so. Whilst the cable itself may have become a lesser used object within our day-to-day lives, the thing that went through it, the code, has become the central nervous system of everything we do today in music, and we still very much use it, whether it be via one of these cables from one keyboard to your door. I want to find out why there's only 8 types of MIDI message, 16 channels, and everything is counted from 0 to 127. It seems very arbitrary. I want to uncover the dirty little secret at the core of this cable and connector. The Universal Synthesizer Interface is a specification designed to enable interconnecting synthesizers, sequencers, and home computers with an industry-wide standard interface. This is a preliminary specification. Comments, criticism, and alternative proposals are welcome. This interface specification has not been tested and would need to be retrofitted to any equipment presented in the field. The interface is basically specified as one-to-one between 2 units, i.e. a synthesizer and a sequencer. Under certain circumstances, however, more units may be placed in a single line. The year is 1983. Maneater was #1 in the Billboard charts with Hall & Oates, Down Under by Men at Work in the UK, E.T. was calling home, Rambo went on his first killing spree, and Dustin Hoffman was unclipping his padded bra after a successful blockbuster run as the character Tootsie. The place, Anaheim, California. Anaheim to Los Angeles is kind of what Croydon is to London. There's a big conference centre there that hosts the annual NAMM conference, and it was at this conference that Dave Smith of Sequential Circuits was demonstrating a new means of connecting digital electric keyboards, drum machines and sequencers. It was the culmination that began with Roland founder Ikutaro Takahashi. His belief, shared with fellow manufacturers Oberheim, Sequential Circuits, Yamaha, Korg and Kawai, that an inability to synchronize electronic musical devices made by different manufacturers was hindering the growth of the music tech industry. The paper outlines a protocol defined by Dave Smith and Chet Wood based on different historical attempts to get kit to communicate, from the days of CV Gate through a fledgling but, as Takahashi lamented, massively complex system of Smith's devising, settling on Roland's own DCB innovation as its basis. The agreed protocol was dubbed Universal Musical Interface, UMI, pronounced You-Me, until Dave Smith aired his displeasure with a name so corny for something so serious, whereby MIDI, Musical Instrument Digital Interface, was settled upon. Smith's NAMM demonstration ushered in the formation of the MMA, not mixed martial arts. I don't think the coming together of these manufacturers ever involved anyone choking each other out, but in fact the MIDI Manufacturers Association, from which the protocol was agreed upon and MIDI 1.0 was born. Huge congratulations to Giselle Alberti there for your amazing work. And what I really enjoyed is people really listening to the story that was being told, and a lot of great examples of people harking back to not only that era from the plugins used or the instruments used or the sounds used, but actually in style of writing as well, which is really encouraging. We're going to be updating the challenge post to give you our thoughts on people's entries and for you to have another look at Giselle's work there. If I were to have a general note, I seem to detect a reticence about modulating, and my personal, maybe it's just a little kind of hack of mine where things are concerned. I think a really useful thing to do to chapter mark stuff is not only to change the arrangement or the music, but is actually to modulate the key as well. And that's the one thing that I was surprised not to see. The other thing that I think's really interesting to listen to where production is concerned and where using synths of that era is concerned is a lot of the VSTs that we use, they've been designed, for convenience. And I think that a lot of the people who designed these what would you call them, emulations of these vintage synths, basically do it so that you don't have to put up with the quirks of the synths. And I think it's what's really interesting if you listen to, say, Stranger Things, where they use a lot of real vintage synths, you'll hear that the intonation isn't as true as, say, the intonation we've just heard on Giselle's. And that would be something I would urge you to experiment with as well, is fluctuations in intonation if you're wanting to conjure up that kind of old 1980s sound. And I think also understanding a degree of the history, something that we did on Alien Isolation, was that we worked out that digital reverberation units would have been rare and very, very expensive at the time that Alien was made. So we decided to use all of the vintage synths, and all the percussion went through plates, real plates and real springs. And that just adds to the authenticity if you're trying to conjure up that other world. I was watching something the other day. I can't remember what it was. It was a TV series. It wasn't very good. And it had some of those vintage synths in, and for me the intonation was just a little bit unbearable, so I think you have to be careful. But I think it's very interesting when you watch Stranger Things to kind of go, oh wow, a lot of this stuff really isn't in tune with each other, and that's what lends to that period. So those are my thoughts. Congratulations again, Giselle. We won't have any more challenges before the new year, but we're going to be revamping this podcast in preparation for our move. We're hoping, cross fingers, that our new HQ is going to be something that we involve you in, moving us into, but also creating a destination for people to come take part in the podcast live, not just on Google Meet. So, talking of which, let's invite in the fellowship to have a chat and see what other people's favourite films to watch or return to over Christmas are. Lovely to see some familiar faces there. And yes, so the question is this week, good evening all. The question is, what's your favourite Christmas film to return to? It doesn't have to be, or rather a film you like to watch at Christmas. It doesn't necessarily have to be a Christmas film. This is in response to a recent survey that the populace of Great Britain have decided that Die Hard, controversially, is not a Christmas movie. Discuss. I don't know if you guys have got, stick your hands up if you'd like to share any guilty pleasures or Jay, how are you, sir?
I'm in the left over of a hangover from a film festival, so good. I'm good. Okay, but why is Die Hard not a Christmas movie?
Well, you'll have to ask Great Britain that,
because isn't it not during Christmas what makes it a Christmas movie? Right?
No, I think it's like The Wizard of Oz. I would consider to be a Christmas movie, and that doesn't have a Christmas theme. Back to the Future. I mean, it might be cultural as well, Jay, because there are certain films that they just show every year. So you'd watch the Queen's Speech and then watch Raiders of the Lost Ark. So a lot of people would say Raiders of the Lost Ark is a Christmas movie.
I just remember something that I was thinking of before we came in. You know that the law, you mentioned the stage for Back to the Future, the clock tower.
Yeah.
That's been used. That's because that's in the Universal backlot, and it's in so many other things. Like if you watch The Good Place, that's the set. The clock tower is the neighborhood of the Good Place, and it's in so many movies. That's because it's the Universal backlot. So anything Universal, you'll find this clock tower in there. You know what? Tim Burton. I'm going to go with Tim Burton for my Christmas movies mainly because my girlfriend is like a big horror fan. Mm-hmm. So it's like, no, A Nightmare Before Christmas is a Christmas movie. Mm-hmm. Because it is.
Nightmare Before Christmas, yes, very, very much so. I sat next to Tim, name drop. We should have a little name drop counter, I think, every week. I sat next to him on a plane once, and it became very clear to me where his films come from. They come from him. He is like a conglomeration of all of his films, and he was just like manically drawing the scariest images you've ever seen in a sketchbook, and then promptly he clearly overstimulated himself and fell asleep for the duration of the trip to LA. But it was interesting to be next to him. Jay, I don't know if you're aware. Are you aware of the story about what happened in Back to the Future 2? And the actor who played Marty McFly's dad, I'm sure I'll be reminded of his name shortly. Kristen Glover, who does a really interesting performance in Back to the Future. He had a falling out with, it was the director, but it was more the producer, that he felt very strongly that the material reward at the end of the film was inappropriate. That basically just getting back with his family and his family were happy and were living a better life was enough. The fact that they gave him a truck, he felt wasn't in keeping with the spirit of the movie. So when they went to make Back to the Future 2, I think that his agent argued for a fairer pay packet. And I think the producer was so fucked off with him that they said, well, we got a prosthetic mold of his face for the old makeup that he wears. So why don't we just hang another actor upside down and stick Kristen Glover's face on this other actor? And a lot of people don't realise that it's not Kristen Glover. And basically, if you check out some podcasts, it was a like a 10-year legal case where they ruled that you cannot steal an actor's likeness. And I think it was a kind of portentous case for the AI that's coming up. But it makes for a really interesting rabbit hole. And you can see that Kristen Glover it really was an ordeal for him. And he argues also that he didn't particularly feel that the actor who pretended to be him hanging upside down made the same kind of acting decisions that he would have done, where he was hanging upside down. But there's a bit of bit of trivia for you. We've got Kent with his hand up. How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Very good indeed, thank you.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've been here. I decided to be a glutton and a masochist and take on 8 projects to do in 1 month. They're all done.
Are you happy with how they were done? Do you feel at every step of the way you gave your clients
100%, which is why I am like so happy that they're done. They're done. I don't do things half-assed, but I need to learn to be like, I'm actually kind of busy this month. It ain't gonna hurt me to say no, but fortunately most of them were extremely micro short films, so that was the tempting factor. Is I can do this on top of this, it'd be great. And then but there's one short film that I did. It's not a micro short, but there's one short film I did where I think Alice wanted to shoot me. So the cello has 4 octave ranges. I wrote a score that pretty much only sits from C4 onward.
Nice.
So it's a really great film, and it has a very wonderful message on mental illness and that sort of thing. But the subject matter of it, I like the sound of the cello when it's super high, because it can get really loud, but it also sounds really strangled if just because the tension. So I had her hanging around. She hardly ever plays in its sweet spot, because even though the melody is pretty, there's a nice theme in there, but you don't ever get its normal comfortable zone until pretty much like the end of the film. The entirety of the film, the cello is just hanging out in the stratosphere. But so that was a favorite one of mine. I always like apparently giving her a challenge. She gave me an email that she was just like, well, this is going to be a gymnastics work. I'm like, yep, have fun.
Brilliant. It was great to hear that you're working with Alice as well. She's such a wonderful talent and brings such an energy.
She's a badass.
Yeah.
I love that she's basically she has a duality to her. She can play everything she's classically trained. So if you need her to play normal and straight and all this stuff, she's got you covered. What I particularly liked is that she's really into the folk traditions, and she can get kind of experimental with the cello. And so I was just like, oh, I do a lot of horror. Can you come this way, please?
Yeah.
We have some discussing to do.
Yeah, there's a lot of dark nights in Scotland. For those who are not familiar, we're talking of Alice Allen, well worth checking out as a cellist, and definitely part of the Crowhill extended family. And she also does an extraordinary technique which comes from an American tradition called chopping, where you turn the cello instrument into a highly percussive instrument. It can form. It reminds me a little bit of like really good beatboxing, where you can kind of accompany yourself. I don't know if you incorporated any of that into the score.
I used that actually in horror. There's a horror film I scored last year that is almost done and about ready to be released, which is great. It's been taking a while, but in that score, there's a moment where I wanted her to chop, but I had her chopping in the harmonic frequency, so that it just sounds this really weird scraping sound. And I hard panned it, because she did one where it was just a ticking, unpitched, that was pitched hard left, and then the harmonics that were just really kind of loud and scrapey, it's pitched hard right, and so you get this weird back and forth. I love her chopping.
Yeah,
I can go on for hours. Anyway.
No, I think something that's really interesting about working with that kind of very dynamic percussive material like the chopping is, I don't know if you agree, but I found working on her chopping stuff, which I did a lot of with this big project I've been talking about for 2 years now, is that I compressed it beyond belief. And what that really did is brought out of the all of like the ghost notes, if you will, all of the mechanics of what she's doing, which is absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, right now, because I wasn't satisfied with just having one crazy idea of having her play in the stratosphere, just because the only part of the score that is organic and live, just because of budget reasons, is her. So for the majority of the score, I had her play everything pretty much triple taked, but in 3 different techniques. I had her play normal, no vibrato, and then concertino, because I liked the way that the mute sounded. Because again, the mutes have this weird, in a section, the mutes sound like silky, they're smooth, but solo, there's this weird overtone that happens, and I'm like, oh, I want to play around with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's something that I really recommend if you're tracking soloists in order to make them sound maybe halfway towards a section. Just tracking them like double tracking doesn't really work. It sounds a bit like a tracked vocal. Getting them to do an alternative technique, fingering, put a mute on. I think your idea of not working with vibrato is great, because then you get the intonation difference. And that suddenly really thickens up the sound.
Oh yeah, like she went from sounding solo to, she pretty much sounded almost like there was like a miniature section playing. It was really great, because I tried double tracking one time, and what a weird complaint. She's so good. She was causing phase issues when I was laying them together, and I was like, well, this is not what I was, because I'm used to double tracking guitars, and when you double track and when you play it, I guess just because the way that the guitar is designed, if you play it twice, it's going to sound wildly different microtonally. But from a string perspective, it was weird. It was like she played it. It was like, did you double track it? Yes, I did. Really? Okay. Well, because you almost nulled yourself. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's go to a different technique then. Let's try that.
And you'll find that, I mean, particularly with things like oboes and stuff, you double track them, it doesn't sound like 2 players at all. So, Mark, before we move on, Kent, sorry, rather, before we move on, do you have a favourite Christmas film that you like returning to?
Yes, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Because the older I get, the more I aside from the fantasies of infidelity every now and then, I very much relate to the Griswolds. They're just like, yep, you try everything to be like perfect, and then it all goes to shit.
Yeah. And I tell you, a really interesting rabbit hole I went down once is establishing that Chevy Chase was a bit of a nightmare to work with. It's really clear. You can go down your little kind of Sherlock Holmes rabbit hole on YouTube and go, oh yeah, you were a bit of a twat. And there was a fist fight with him and what's his name from Groundhog Day, Bill Murray, on SNL. They went on stage with black eyes. Yeah. He was like the king of the hill for a while, and it went to his head apparently. Anyway, putting a downer on that, but thanks for that, Ken. Mark Bellinger, we haven't seen you for a while. How are you?
Good evening, Christian. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm very well, thank you. Like Ken, I've been busy, but not as busy as that. That's something to aspire to, for sure.
Or not.
Well done, sir. Well done. I just have one line from a film. Now I have a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho. It's a Christmas film. End of discussion. There's no doubt about it. It's a Christmas film. It's not the best Christmas film. The best Christmas film, bearing in mind I'm not a big fan of Christmas. The only thing I like about Christmas is that 6 weeks where nothing's really being done and I can catch up and get like passion projects done because everyone's doing Christmas and I'm not. But the best Christmas movie of all time, Frank Capra's It's a Wonderful Life. That's not up for discussion either.
Yeah.
But for films to watch over Christmas, in fact, I've got a book coming that's like a almanac of Bond, and I'm going to, over Christmas, just go right to the beginning, do the whole film run of Bond films, Bond films.
Okay.
Christian, you're my age. You're exactly my age, I think, bar a few months. The Bond film at Christmas.
Yeah.
When films used to only come out on TV before they came out on video, we remember that.
Yeah, Man with the Golden Gun, I think, was right in my kind of prime of, yeah, and it would usually be in the evening because they're a bit racier. But I don't know if you've watched them for a while, Mark, but I'd switch social media off whilst you're watching those things because they are cancellation hubs. I mean, they really haven't travelled well at all.
No, I don't care. I love a Bond film. I love it when Sean Connery slaps a girl's ass. Nothing wrong with that. There's points that it's worse. And also I have a rule in my house. If we're watching a film and anybody even glances at a phone, it gets destroyed.
Okay.
If we're watching a film, no, because it's a real problem now, and it's actually something, as you know, we're making these VR movies, which we will share with all of you at some point when they're ready. But the beautiful thing about a VR movie is you're in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
The problem now is people are like, oh, I'm watching, and everybody on this podcast will appreciate you have spent hours, weeks, months crafting just the soundtrack alone. How dare somebody be glancing at their Facebook feed while No.
Yeah.
It's just unacceptable to me.
Reminds me of whenever I hear Superstition by Stevie Wonder being played in the background in a pub or restaurant. I go, this isn't background music. Let everyone be quiet for a bit and listen to this. But I think you're absolutely right. And you know, my prediction, Mark, is over the next half decade, I think, which is a weird way of saying 5 years. I think that there's going to be a massive return to cinema, and I think it's going to be a real explosion of indie cinema again, because I can see in my kids they really enjoy just logging off for a couple of hours and having a shared human experience. I hope so. Yeah, I think so, and I think that there's. I mean, if there was one film that I think that could really turn the corner for Hollywood, is that film Weapons. Which made a phenomenal amount of money and cost next to nothing to make, and is pretty much all in camera, except for the googly eyes. And I think that's really encouraging. If anyone hasn't watched Weapons, that's probably quite a fun thing to watch this Christmas, actually. Yeah. Great score as well.
Now I have one more request. I mentioned something. Now I haven't been to any concerts this year, but there's a concert I would have loved. Well, there's many I'd love to go to. But there's one I mentioned to someone recently I'd love to go to, and I got shot down in flames as it being but old people, of which I sort of am, I guess. But whenever I watch the videos online, it just fills me with joy, and I'd like to get the general consensus. Andre Rieu. You not know Andre Rieu?
No.
Oh my God. Google Andre Rieu. It's the most beautiful live orchestral fun. So Google The Lonely Shepherd, Andre Rieu. If you don't cry after watching that, then you're not human.
Get you in the spirit. Thank you, Mark. Jeremiah.
No, thanks.
Thanks, Mark. Jeremiah, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
Yeah, great.
Wonderful. It's still rainy here in Vancouver as things go. It's not hitting snow yet, so we get rain all year. I don't know when winter will come, but thinking of the season.
You have a similar weather system to Seattle, don't you? Which is really, it's Glaswegian in amount of rainfall, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And I used to work for an outdoor company, so I don't think it's a problem at all. Yeah. I love the rain, and it's inspiring, it's cozy. So that's, I think it just gets me in the mood for the season when I get to stay inside and hang out. But Your mention of a gong tree had me thinking you just need to put a star on that. I think you're fine. You don't need to put a tree in there. Just put a star in your gong tree.
Yes, thank you. I'll pass that on.
But then your mention of films, I guess it had me thinking, what is a holiday film? I think it's just nostalgia, isn't it? Like it's whatever's nostalgic to you, and nostalgia can be like passed down, and I think that is framed in The Wizard of Oz or whatever. And when I think of nostalgia, my partner and I watch The Lord of the Rings every New Year's Eve now, and the extended cut, we watch it all, and it feels wonderful. It feels right in the season. It's the perfect experience for us as we bring in the new year. We're not party animals, and we're not Christmassy either. We kind of practice witchcraft in this house. So it's that's what gets my goat. And then I guess concerts, comedy concerts. We saw Auntie Donna. If anyone knows Auntie Donna, their live shows are unreal. But musically, it's stuck between Sharon Van Etten. She was stellar. Saw her here in Vancouver. We get a lot of great concerts that come through. And here's a fun one. Just this past week, Snakes of Russia came here. So
did you go?
Yeah. My partner and I went, and we had a riot. It was a goth bonanza. So much noise. There was a bunch of noise music sort of before, and it was like a Sunday night, which I admire everyone's ability to come out on a Sunday night. But boy, oh boy, Joseph is such a sweetie, and it was just such a riot to be there. So that was fun.
Thanks for that, Jeremiah. And I agree. I think that Christmas is about togetherness, and I think that Mark's comment on James Bond is as much to do with your family sitting down to watch something, and that whole thing of like screaming down the stairs, "Come on, Mum, it's coming on," and gonna miss it, and all of that kind of stuff. I kind of like Christmas, even though I don't know. I'm probably repeating myself here, but I'm called Christian because I'm born on Christmas Day, and I've always maintained that my claim to fame is I'm the only Jewish person on the planet called Christian. But we do celebrate, not non-practicing, and yeah, my wife has a particularly revolting term for the period between Christmas and Hogmanay, as it's referred to here, or New Year, which I do enjoy, but she refers to it as the Christmas Pyreneeum. Her, not me. You can take a girl out of Glasgow. We can't take Glasgow out of a girl. Elliot, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well, thank you. I'm good. I've had a bit of an interesting one lately, something to do with music that's like not to do with composing. And a friend of mine very sadly had a stroke. It was the best situation he could be in. Literally an ambulance was driving past as the call came in, and
Hallelujah.
He got everything he needed at the right time. And if you just meet him, you wouldn't know. The only thing is he's lost the ability to hear music. He's been struck with something called amusia, something I've never heard of before. He's never heard of it. But he's determined to be able to like get his music back. So we've been doing a bunch of tests, and I thought, well, I've got all this knowledge on music and using tech and all this kind of stuff. And we've started making all these different tests to see what he can hear. And it turns out that he can discern pitch, but only in certain ranges and stuff like that. So it was like putting a sine wave into headphones and sweeping that sine wave, and he couldn't tell if it was going up or down until it hit a certain range and things like that. And then we tried, rather than a sine wave, using a square wave. And because the square wave adds in all the more different harmonics, he could hear that easier than he could a sine wave. And it's been crazy trying to like help him regain his ear.
I mean, this is absolutely fascinating. So how did it manifest, and when did he notice, and how did he explain it to you?
So he's an older gentleman. He's in his mid to late 70s. He came into a guitar store where I used to work, and was like, I've got all these songs that I've written throughout my life, but I don't know how to use a laptop and stuff. So I used to sit and kind of like record him playing his music and mix it, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, he just had a stroke, and then he went to sit down, just recovered to play piano, and was like, oh, this doesn't sound right. And then like got into a bit of a thing because he couldn't understand what he was playing. But what he could play the songs because he's got muscle memory to physically play, but he can't discern pitch. So you ask him to sing Happy Birthday and he can't pitch it. He literally cannot pitch it. And we've done loads of tests of like, I recorded him doing it with like white noise in his ears so he couldn't hear himself, singing to like songs that he used to sing, and putting it through Melodyne so we can see exactly where the pitches are and see how close and how far away he is. And it's just been it's been a really, it's terrible, but it's also really fascinating to dive into that side of music. It's
and presumably he recognises rhythms.
Yes, rhythm he's absolutely fine with. He actually went for a official assessment in Cambridge, but he didn't like the test. They were all testing like memory and that kind of thing. They weren't really designed to test pitch and pitch perception. So yeah, he used to work for the ONS, like in economics and stuff. So he's a whiz on collating data. So I'm helping him. We're trying to devise a test to submit to like say what you can actually do to test for these symptoms, because it's a very, very niche symptom of a stroke that unless you were a musician you wouldn't test for. So it could affect lots of people, but you don't really know.
That's absolutely fascinating. The only time I've heard of it is it a book by Oliver Sacks called Musicophilia or something like that? I have heard of it, but it's really interesting to hear from someone who's witnessing it, and maybe buy him some of that amazing Japanese taiko drumming to entertain him with something that's musical but not necessarily pitched.
Luckily, he's in good spirits about it. But yeah, we're like documenting everything we're doing to try and like if we can help someone else, it's going to be good for someone else. Yep. I suppose.
What a fascinating story, Elliot. Thanks for sharing that. And do you have a film that you like to watch every Christmas?
It's funny actually because my wife takes the piss out of me for this. I don't know why, but the Christmas film that I don't feel like it's been Christmas unless I've seen this film once is the 1999 like BBC Christmas film of Patrick Stewart, A Christmas Carol. And I don't know why. It just doesn't feel like Christmas unless I've seen that film. And I love it. It's brilliant. So good.
Fantastic. Thanks, Elliot. And over to you, David O'Rourke. I'm saying your full name because there's more than one David.
Oh, okay. I'm being chastised when people say my name.
Sorry, I thought I'd caveat
me,
it.
Christian, whatever you think I did, I didn't. Hello to everybody. I haven't been on for a number of weeks because I teach around. I usually have to go to teach, but I do watch every week and enjoy and learn from what you often talk about. I glean a lot of helpful information. I have a question just off the top of my head that about a possible instrument for sampling. Knowing that you did the Boron, which kind of travels through the African North Coast as well as Pakistan, through Ireland and the Celtic countries. The Uilleann pipes I always feel people sample 2/3 of them. There's the chanter, there's the drones, and they forget the regulators, which are played by the palm or just underneath the palm of the hand. It's amazing how they're doing the offbeat stuff. But I crave a full sample. There's been a few people who've gotten good sounds and the ornamentation as well, which I think is less than the Scottish bagpipes have more ornamentation, I think, figures than. But is that something you would consider, or have you filed Uilleann pipes under the saxophone category?
Yeah, I think it is very similar in the sense that you do have to modulate the sound, and I think one of the most immediate errors that again, just touching on something I was talking about regarding synths and them sounding vintage, is I think the temptation with sampling is to make a non-chromatic instrument chromatic. So it instantly doesn't sound like and it's that thing of, it's funny. It's like making a bagpipe chromatic. It just won't sound like a bagpipe. It'll sound like a really horrible harmonium. And so there's that, but also the intonation is never true. And it's a little bit like, that inexplicable microtuning that you hear, as you venture into Eastern Europe and down into the Iberian Peninsula. It's that very calculated micro tuning that is almost something that you learn in utero through culture. And I think that's something that gives the Uilleann pipes its incredibly aching kind of tone. I feel that something that's interesting about the Uilleann pipes is they're often used and described as the Irish bagpipes, and that is absolutely incorrect. I believe that they come from Northumberland originally, and they're incredibly complex objects. And they were like I don't know if you've ever met, kind of rich people who really show off their stereos. They were like a plaything of the rich. They were something that, wow, you've got a set of those pipes. But also I think something that's misunderstood is that the Scottish bagpipe is a military instrument, whereas actually the small pipes that you hear a lot here at Cayley's and stuff are actually quite beautiful sounding instruments and variations on a theme. I don't know, am I right about? I know that you get Northumberland pipes and then the Uilleann pipes, but I just think it's interesting, say for example, that it's used very much as a sonic leitmotif in the film Titanic, because that ship left from Belfast, I believe. Is there a legitimate connection with Ireland and the Uilleann pipes?
So I don't know enough to either challenge or claim original creation, but the Northumberland pipes I always understood were smaller, didn't have regulators, and were higher pitched. So now there's a bar about by where I'm going to teach, actually the same town, and they have traditional Irish dishes in this Irish bar, and I swear to God, it's traditional Irish chicken curry is listed. So can we? How did that name happen?
You're right.
I'm not sure what instruments are actually traditional Irish instruments, because I think it goes back to the whole thing where the Celts were joined by land. They were. I had an uncle who, we're talking about around 1916. He was involved in the uprising in Ireland. My mother told me he played mandolin and he played, there was hurdy-gurdies going around. I said to my mother, where did he get these? And she said, from sailors. Yeah. They would buy instruments from sailors. That was probably a way that were coming through port. So I don't know. I think there's a very strong connection between the north of Ireland and Scotland coming down through. I think that's where, because, there's reels and jigs and in both cultures. I think Scotland has the Strathspeys and a lot of other dance forms. But you've got mazurkas in Donegal.
Yeah. And that's what's great about Celtic Connections, the festival up here in Glasgow, is that it kind of unifies that world of and someone described it to me as it's the telling of stories through song, really. But could you briefly describe how you play an Uilleann pipe? Because I've only booked one once, and I was fascinated by the sense that he put a wooden block on his knee. I don't know if this is all Uilleann pipes are like this, and he used that to modulate the pitch, to give it its kind of singing quality.
Some people have a leather pop stopper, I think they call it, or something, where it'll give it kind of, it's almost like a wah, when you lift it. It gives a slight variation on it. I just remember somebody asking, I have a friend who made Uilleann pipes for a living. We're in Ireland, and someone said, what's the difference between the Irish and the Scottish pipes? With a straight face, he said, the Scottish pipe, you have to blow them while you're playing, but the Irish pipes, you can drink and play at the same time. And he showed a photograph of a session where somebody had a pint of Guinness on his table, and he had 3 straws joined together to go up. And But they're very different sounding instruments, obviously. But it must be annoying when there's a movie made highlighting Scotland and you hear the sound of uilleann pipes being. It annoys me when I go, no, you're using the wrong one.
Yeah.
That's the wrong sample. But,
it takes you back to your comment, Jeremiah, of watching Lord of the Rings, and how I just think, I don't tend to malign other composers' work, but I think the decision to play Celtic music for the Shire is
I never understood that either.
No, it's just absolutely gross for me because, it's Oxfordshire is what it's based on. It's where Tolkien, lived and worked. And just to throw in some hoity-toity kind of Celtic music, I find, it's such an interesting part of filmmaking is how much... And I wouldn't get onto that kind of virtue signaling about cultural, all of that appropriation, but that thing of just being geographically incorrect and how you just get, it touches on racism sometimes. And I know that I've been asked several times to write some African music, which is, it's a bit being asked to generalize a continent in that way is somewhat surprising. And on that note, Jeremiah, I hate to burst the bubble, but I think before watching Lord of the Rings, you should have a listen to Carter Burrell's score for Miller's Crossing. Yeah. So, David, before I leave you, do you have a favourite Christmas thing you return to, film-wise?
So if I had to pick one, it would be on an emotional basis. I remember reading the book, The Polar Express, with my son when he was lying on my chest. Oh. And as soon as he started to learn how to speak, he could recite the whole book before he could read. So then watching the movie, there was a special kind of, it gets me a little emotional each year, actually, because of the memory more than anything else.
But also possibly Alan Silvestri's top line. I think it's one of the best top lines. That
I love the music in it. I should have said that too.
Yeah, it's just absolutely stunning. Yeah, always
even the hot chocolate and all that.
Yeah, exactly. It's absolutely
so
brilliant.
well done.
Yeah,
but I'm going to have to run because I have to go teach.
Cool.
But it's so great to see everybody. And thank you.
Thanks, David.
Christian and all.
Yeah, it's interesting watching the Polar Express because it looks like it's been made 100 years ago because the CGI has come on so much. But it's really surprising to see it's actually only 2004, believe it or not. And he's saying that without Google in front of him and everything. Adam, how are you?
I'm very good. And I've got to. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Did you go and see Hans?
I did. I went to see him, and I'm just going to back you up. Tower Crane Driver. I also cried when Lisa sang. And I'm not even a big fan of that music, but the two pieces that really stood out to me, and Hans himself quoted it as his African time, was the Lion King. The Lion King was amazing performance. And it was the Gladiator, what you want to call it. It was, they were both amazing. The whole show was great. So first of all, it brought me to tears, and it will go with my top two concerts of the year. And I've still got to say it's really close between Hans and Nine Inch Nails. Nine Inch Nails was an amazing performance, and really tough one.
And would you agree that he really moved some air in that? I mean, the bottom end is phenomenal in that show.
I was watching. I was looking straight down at the drummers, and I'm watching them two women, and I'm just thinking, I'm tired with all of this, and I'm loving it, but it was tiring. It was you're listening because I mean everyone does it. We're all like, what film's this? What is this going to be? And it was quite a long experience, and I'm looking at the drummers and I'm thinking, how are they doing what they're doing all the way through? Everyone, even the celloist, everyone was moving around, doing so much. I felt drained just watching the performance. It was such a good performance. It was amazing. The sound was good, but I think there was a few technical issues with some of the some of the PA system speakers was popping here and there, but it was an amazing performance. And I am a bit of an audiophile, so I do complain about the slightest little hiss talk.
Fair enough. and do you have a Christmas film that you like returning to?
Right, so I get to mention a Christmas film, which I'm going to try and sneak in as a Christmas film this year, and I'm only saying it because the music's amazing. Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence.
Ooh.
I'm going to try and pretend that's a Christmas film, and we're going to watch that this year.
That really isn't a Christmas film.
We're going to pretend it is.
Really
We're going to watch that. We're going to watch that, and I've got to say Scrooged, because Charles Dickens is amazing, but Bill Murray for punching Chevy Chase, we're going to watch Scrooge as well.
Yeah. Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence. My tip is don't watch it on Apple TV because the file is corrupted on their servers and the last 2 minutes of the movie is missing.
No.
Yeah, I watched it recently and I had to go onto the Wikipedia page to find out what happens. So you actually miss the point where he says,
Sorry out.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence. It's like the title of the film, and it's the last line of the film. Spoiler alert! And really not a Christmas film. It's like, I love watching The Killing Fields at Christmas. Apocalypse Now.
Well, you would say horror films. You say like horror films. I can't stand horror films.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? Oh, Elliot, your friend or I wonder whether or not Philip Glass will be something. I know the taiko drums would be amazing, but like the rhythm of Philip Glass and stuff, is that going to be something that he'd be able to enjoy still, or it just I feel so sorry for anyone that loses the ability to listen to music, but then at the same time, that squash on what you can enjoy might make him the best rhythm guy. Like silver lining.
Yeah, we're taking a look at a load of things. He actually went to Ronnie Scott's yesterday just to go to a live. He used to love going there, and he was trying really hard to focus on what he could listen to. And it turned out he could hear the bass very well. He could discern pitch in the bass, but everything else he said just sounded like noise. So we had a few.
That's really interesting, Elliot, because I believe that's you hear it in that order. You know how our senses come in gradually. And apparently it's the bottom end that you respond to first, and in utero, and that's why often the sound of your father or whoever is the first bloke that you hear, you will find that babies respond to more because that sound is what comes in first. Apparently, I don't know if there's a connection there with that condition.
I'll take a look at that. Thanks.
Yeah, Andre, lovely to see you. How are you?
Oh, here we go. Hello.
How are you?
I am really good. I was thinking about coming in a couple of days ago after watching you talk to Pascal Weiss, who I had the fortune of meeting as well. And I want to take this in a bit of a different direction, if that's all right.
Sure.
I don't normally do that. And I was plucking up the courage to even bother. So Mark had mentioned audio in films being bad. He mentioned people not watching films correctly and looking at phones and things. And then Elliot was talking about this audio. And for me, being totally blind, some of you may not know that I'm totally blind, audio is my thing too. And what really bugs me is when people use the wrong sound in a film. So I hate it. I actually get mad. I talk to my wife about it every time. So I'm not a film person, but I'm a kind of, series watcher. I watch Stranger Things and all the Netflix things, all the Apple TV things. And if something's been set in the UK and they use the US buzzer noise, it drives me mad. And I wondered if anyone else ever picks up on this stuff, because it generally upsets me.
Yeah. I enjoy like total contrivances. Like I love how loud they make cigarettes on films.
Yeah.
And also, do you know about the MGM lion? That's not a lion roar.
I didn't.
It's a tiger roar.
I think the eagle is an eagle sound as well, right?
Yeah. And the sound of frogs, ribbit, ribbit, ribbit.
Oh, the ribbits.
Yeah.
Yes.
The only frogs who make that sound are in the Los Angeles area of Hollywood. So they've become the frog trope. They don't sound like that anywhere else. But it was my daughter recently said, no, that's not a lion, that's a tiger, and played me the sound of a lion roar. It's terrifying because it's not raw. It's like, whoa, it's like a bark.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
I wanted to show you an example. I don't know how well Google Meet will carry the sound, but everybody uses that sound as a UK door buzzer. It is incorrect.
Yes.
They should be using that sound.
Unfortunately, it's not coming through on Google, but I know what you're referring to.
It's the 120 hertz versus 100 hertz.
Ah.
And the thing is, there are libraries that do that. BBC made a massive sound library for the UK, and people don't use it. They always use Hollywood Edge and all this other stuff, and the phone lock sound is always the same iPhone 3GS lock sound from 2009. Hate it.
Yeah. Something you have to be very careful for, any filmmakers here, is actually using any of those ringtones, very much copyrighted. Tom Newman did a lot of the Apple iPhone ringtones, and it's something that I've worked on projects and having to replace those. So do you pick up on those weird Easter eggs that sound guys put in, like the Wilhelm scream and stuff like that?
You can catch that sometimes.
Yeah.
I may not catch all of them, but I think if I hear it, I can't unhear it, you know?
Yeah.
And then, of course, you've got the people driving cars, and if you've got a stereo mic in the back, or supposed to have a stereo mic in the back, the driver's got to be on the correct side.
Yeah. Yes.
In audio plays, a lot of people get that wrong.
Yeah.
So it's not even a music complaint. That's why I was worried about coming and complaining, because it's a bit off topic, but it bugged me.
Yeah. Torches as well.
Oh, yeah.
Like they always make them sound like lightsabers. So with someone who is totally blind, as you described it, is there a film that is a kind of a wonderful experience for you, either musically or sonically, that you enjoy listening to?
It's interesting, you know, because not a film, but I really have enjoyed the Stranger Things you mentioned earlier. The sound design in that is fantastic. And Silo on Apple TV, Severance as well. Things like this, productions are fantastic.
Yeah.
I do enjoy that kind of thing. Because I think if sound is done really well, I don't need to see anything.
No.
Nor do I need it even described.
Yeah. It's something that we've got this series, Adventures in Sound, that we're really trying to get off the ground. It's proving more difficult than I'd hoped. But something I said to the team is, you know, taking, say, for example, the Anthony Bourdain as like my favourite documentaries ever. Something that the actual content with Anthony Bourdain in is fairly kind of run and gun, but they have the kind of it's not second unit, it's the same unit, but they have so much B-roll and establishing that really puts you in the place. And I said, I think that it would be really nice if we're doing this thing of going to visit different places and talking about, you know, and meeting people, is that we spend as much attention on the kind of sonic B-roll so that it becomes a really immersive experience. And I think that's something that is, I don't know if you experience, Louis, with like watching YouTube and stuff, is particularly people's inability to do crossfades across their audio edits.
My goodness. That is such a hateful thing. Oh my. They don't breathe. There is a YouTuber that used to do this quite a lot, 91 Tech. And actually, Andrew Huang used to do it, but he grew up a bit. Yeah. And he never breathed. And the thing is, it used to make me feel physically like I couldn't breathe.
Brilliant stuff.
Horrible. I'm glad you never do that.
Yeah, no. There's a fascinating piece of which we're starting to employ on our dubs, and our dubs will improve as a consequence. Is a plugin called Dynassist, which is well worth looking into. And as my friend who recommended it to me, it's like a leveling plugin. And it gets you about 90% there. And instead of it being compression, it's actually automating, I think it may be using a bit of intelligence in there. But it's quite easy to completely rub out breaths. And you're absolutely right. It sounds incredibly.
It's unnatural.
I don't know if you've ever heard the Streets' first album. They cut all the breath. They cut all the breaths out of that, and it's really unnerving.
I forgot about that. I heard that recently on Six Music, actually. Yeah,
it's really interesting because I think it was one of those first hugely successful bedroom albums, and I think it's just one of those. That's someone has misdirected them with that. That you don't cut all the breaths out because it sounds completely unhuman and takes a lot of the emotion out of it.
It does, and the thing is, I actually do a podcast. It was actually Pascal who inspired me to start the podcast I do with my wife. And I wanted it to have great audio, not just good audio, but great audio.
Yeah.
So my wife and I do this together every week. And I do use a noise cancelling plugin called Supertone Clear, but I don't take breaths out because it doesn't feel normal.
No, absolutely. Could you tell us the address of the podcast for us to check it out?
Yeah, it's actually on my own website. And my website is a 3-letter website. It's onj.me. So that's Oscar November Juliet.me.
Brilliant.
And there's a link right there. And it's basically a husband and wife podcast, blind-sighted couple, because she's sighted and I'm blind. We've got 2 kids, and we talk about life, the universe, and podcasts.
Brilliant stuff, Andrew.
I didn't mean to come here and promote that, but audio and noise. And
yeah, no, I'm with you on that. Thanks, Andre. Charles, how are you doing?
It's time for the chicken. My favorite Christmas thing is The Christmas Story, but the reason is my brother was born in 1938 and I was born in 1943, so it covers that era. Peter Billingsley, are you familiar with the film The Christmas Story? Gavin, what's his name? God. Well, anyway, if you look it up, let me see. It's called A Christmas Story.
Right.
Are you familiar with that film?
I'm not, no, but I will check it out. I'll put it on the list.
Okay, well, it really covers that era that my brother and I came up in. He, as I said, he was born in 38, I was born in 43. So it's like the late 40s, early 50s. The film takes place in the Midwest. My brother and I were raised in Florida, so we weren't, we didn't have the snow and all that business. But it's just the era, post-World War II, the sort of emancipation from, having been in the war and whatnot. And I think I told you my dad was at Normandy and whatnot. So it was it has a sentimental value to me. By the way, before I forget it, this has nothing to do with the films, but my wife and I were watching Netflix last night and saw this wonderful film that was I think it was a combined Swiss and American production called So Torn. Have you ever heard of the film?
No.
Okay. And the composer was a guy named Jacob Tardien, Tardien.
Right.
So I'll put a link here. I think I have this IMDb link. And I'll put it on there for everybody after I talk. But it is so out there as a film, and I'm really sick and tired of seeing films that are sort of what I call cookie cutter stuff. It may be because of my experience as an actor. And as I think I've told you, we'll be watching a movie and all of a sudden in my mind, I'm thinking, cut, reset, lunch, whatever, So it's hard for us to watch a film and really suspend our disbelief. But this thing was so bizarre. It was sort of like taking drugs without taking drugs. And the actors, I didn't know who they were. They did a great job. I think some of them are from Ireland. So I'll put the link up there and avail yourself of taking a look at the film. And I think the composer has some work on Spotify too, so you might be interested in that. I know you don't like Spotify, but that's not the point. But the composer does some very interesting things sound-wise.
Great.
And anyway, back to the movies. And I also like the Capra film. It's a Wonderful Life. It was filmed in L.A., and actually the famous street scene with all the snow it's still there, but it's just kind of a thoroughfare that goes through, I think Northridge. I think it's in Northridge. And but the film is really interesting, and Donna Reed and James Stewart did a good job. And there's a scene in that film where, if you recall the film, James Stewart is at a bar and he's having a kind of a crack up. I don't know if you know the scene I'm talking about.
I do. I know it so well, that film. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, there's a scene in there where he has a crack up, and the story is that he was having a very difficult time trying to find a way to express this crack up. And Capra said, "Look, why don't you just remember what it was like for you in the war?" Because he was a bomber pilot.
Yeah.
James Stewart actually ended up, I think he was a general, not in the war. I think he was a colonel in the war, but he was a bomber pilot, flew a lot of missions. So Capra said, "I want you to think about the experience of being in combat." And if you see the film, you'll say, "Oh my God." I mean, you can see the guy just completely collapsing.
Yeah.
So it's a brilliant film in that regard.
Yeah.
But I don't have any other remarks. The concert-wise, I live in an area where there's a dearth of that kind of live performance stuff. So I'd have to go way back to things I saw when I was young. But you're talking about more contemporary concerts, and I envy you if you're near a venue where you can see people like Hans. I think I asked you, did you? My friend Pedro Eustache works with Hans. Was he in the concert that you were in?
What instrument does he play?
Pedro's a reed player. He plays reeds.
Oh, I'm not. No, I don't think so. No, it was only one woodwind player. But yeah, if Hans is coming to your town, any of you, it's well worth catching to see how he has. And it's taken him 10 or 15 years to really transmogrify that the kind of experience he conjures in cinema into a live arena, and I think that he's absolutely nailed it. And yeah, I think that It's a Wonderful Life is. I think the James Stewart performance is really important to watch in a contextual sense, because it was so ahead of its time. It's such a naturalistic performance, and you'll see the actors around him are much broader, but he's just so completely inhabits the character. It's a wonder to watch. We don't have much time left, so I'm going to skip along to Les, who's been waiting a while to come in.
Hello, everybody. How are you all?
Yeah, good.
Interesting. I loved last week. It's a very interesting podcast. And also, I wanted to say thank you to Docs and the team for dulcet vocal. It's lovely. It really is.
Thank you.
And I have a request of you and Charles. Can we sample Charles?
Oh, yeah.
Please, Charles, can we make you into a virtual instrument of your voice?
Yeah, a deep baritone kind of. Oh,
yeah.
That would be good. Charles, I'll be in touch in the new year.
Let's
so
do
many
that one.
So many exciting things. That was totally Dot's idea. She knew that there was some extra material to put in there, and the people's enthusiasm for it has really encouraged us.
You can email me, Christian. Go ahead,
I will do. People's enthusiasm for the vaults has really encouraged us to crack on with the dulcet choir, where we're putting 5 or 6 really extraordinary voices together in a very similar style, but studio done, done very, very close mic'd and stuff. And I think that's going to be really, really interesting. But there is some really, really, I feel I've really got my mojo back. I've taken back I put on my chef's whites again where sampling is concerned, and it's all from this origins concept of just going back to the beginning and starting again. And I'm really, really proud of, I think, what we'll be coming up with over the forthcoming months and stuff. And there's a biggie that we're doing that's like a really big library that I think I think our world needs it, so I can't wait to share that with you. But there's lots of really exciting. I played the next Vaults today, just an early alpha, and that's really exciting. Les, before I sign off, do you have a favourite Christmas?
I do. There's two of them, and they're both Wallace and Gromit films.
Oh, yes.
And one of them is Chicken Run.
Yeah.
And the other one is The Wrong Trousers. Every Christmas isn't Christmas without Wallace and Gromit.
Yeah. And again, this goes back to the kind of cultural thing of it. You know, that was something to look forward to on British television. Would be the next Aardman thing that would inevitably end up winning the Oscar before Pixar started winning them all. Wrong Trousers, I would put that in my top 10 movie villains. There's a nod from the back of from the gallery in the back here. So I'm going to sign off. Just to let you know, it's incredible that Andre brought up Pascal Wise, because he's actually going to be our special guest for our pre-Christmas show on the 17th. So we're going to be doing a show on the 17th. Also, just if you're organising your diaries, we're going to do the eve of Christmas Eve, so the Tuesday before Christmas, and then we're going to be doing a hangover show with another quiz on the day after Hogmanay. I stood corrected last week. Still very much a migrant up here in Scotland. So put those in your diary, and next week we're going to see a slight shift in the format, and it's about kind of using more of this stuff and maybe having some fun interaction in a less conversational, less abstract sense, whilst also catching up, talking about the important and not so important matters of the day. Yes, if you're a fan of Lord of the Rings, go and check out Miller's Crossing, the score to that. It's very surprising. Check out the Kristen Glover episode. It's all over YouTube. Absolutely fascinating, and I think particularly portentous to what we're facing with AI and not only our visual likeness, but our sonic likeness being scraped. And I'm really excited that things seem to be moving along with the rug factory that we've just bought, and us building a place where people can come and play. So we're going to be involving you in that. But it's just, as always, just really appreciate everyone coming on, and lots of really fascinating conversations. And particularly Elliot, I do wish the best to your friend. Do come back and tell us about your discoveries, because it's sadly fascinating. But all the best from him. I think it's fair to say that I speak for all of us, that we send him all the best. Life without music, eh? It's not a nice thought. With that, wish you all my love, and see you same time, same place next week.
If you feel like you are losing your grip, might suffer a trip or abandon